So, Joe, how are conversations evolving between generative AI and agentic AI and other topics in AI?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think early conversations focus heavily on generative AI. So AI that's helping people create content, summarize data, and move faster. And that's still definitely valuable, but it's basically become table stakes. What we're seeing now is a shift toward agentic AI, where systems aren't just helping people, they're starting to take action inside of workflows. So an example of that would be in a PMO context. Generative AI might summarize a weekly status report, which is great and valuable, but an agentic solution goes further. It'll pull data from Jira, it flags risks automatically, and notifies stakeholders when recommended next steps. The shift is pushing organizations to move beyond the tools and start thinking about execution and integrating it into real work.
Yeah, and that's great. And I want to drill down a little bit more into agentic AI. So can you explain what agentic AI is in simple terms?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. I think the simplest way to think about agentic AI is this. It's the shift from systems that support decisions to systems that act on decisions, with the caveat being that it's within defined boundaries. Instead of a system simply saying, here's what you should do, the experience becomes more action-oriented, right? It becomes, I've already taken these next steps, and here's the result. So an example of that would be in finance. Instead of just flagging an out-of-policy expense, an AI agent could actually automatically route it for approval, notify the manager, and then update the system once it's resolved. That's where AI becomes really embedded into operations, and it's not just a productivity tool.
And that sounds really attractive, and I can understand leaders wanting to implement something like that to their organization. But what are some of the risks that might come with agentic AI that leaders should be aware of, or at least that maybe you're hearing about as you're having conversations across organizations?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just this idea of you really are giving away some autonomy, right? Some decision making. So I think as AI moves from insights into action, the risk definitely shifts. The biggest risk is reduced visibility to the action happening across those systems, right? Because the AI is doing that for you. That can create data security concerns. It limits transparency of the decision logic, and it blurs the ownership between the human and AI. An example of that is in supply chain. In a supply chain workflow, if an AI agent automatically reorders inventory based on flawed forecast data, you can end up with excess inventory or stockouts without a human oversight catching it in time. That's why I think it's really, critically important that governance is a foundational aspect of the project. It's not just an optional thing. The more AI can act, the more intentional organizations need to be about oversight. Controls and ownership need to be clear right from the start.
And we've talked a lot about that in recent conversations, AI governance, and we've talked a lot about, just AI strategy in general, and we've, covered topics like AI readiness and different things like that. And when it comes to this idea of executing a strategy, an AI strategy specifically across organizations, we see a lot of gaps. And so why is the strategy to execution gap so common?
Yeah, I think it is very common. I think where things break down is translating those goals into actual execution, so an actual plan. I think the first, really starts with clarifying ownership first. Someone has to own the business outcome. It's not just the technology that's doing it. If ownership is unclear, decisions slow down and priorities are competing, and teams can start ending up treating AI like a side experiment, right, instead of an operating model change. Once ownership is clear, organizations can define how processes change, what governance is required, how success is measured, and how adoption is driven. When those details aren't clear, that's where the initiatives will stall. So an example of that would be a company defines AI-driven customer service as a priority, right, as like a lot of companies do. But they never establish ownership for bot training or escalation paths or performance metrics, so that pilot will never scale. So this really turns an execution detail issue. It turns it into an execution detail issue versus it being a vision of how you want to use AI.
And for those organizations that are starting to think about this and thinking about ways to implement it into their own workforce, and they're looking at, implementing a partner or selecting a partner, can you just give a little bit of context on how does a professional services partner actually help with these types of projects?
Yeah, absolutely. So a strong professional services partner should help turn an AI idea into an executable plan. It starts first by clarifying the business outcome. From there, the partnership defines the work streams, identifies the roles that are needed, create a realistic timeline, and make sure governance is in place before the work scales. I think the best partners also help clients connect the technical effort to the operating model. That means understanding how the workflow changes, who owns the decision, how teams will be trained, and how results will be measured. In practical terms, a great partner should bring execution discipline. They should help the client move from a promising use case to a governed delivery plan with clear accountability, adoption support, and measurable outcomes.
That's great. And just turning inward for a second, how does BCforward specifically help organizations?
Yeah, I think we're really proud of our model at BCforward. Our model is built to support the full path from planning to execution. We bring together project leadership, change enablement, and digital delivery so AI can move beyond a pilot into the way the business actually operates. So within our project management team, we'll create delivery structure, define scope, cadence, risk, dependencies, and governance so the work stays coordinated and accountable. Then in our organizational change management team, or OCM, they'll focus on adoption. It helps people understand what's changing. It prepares teams for new ways of working and supports the behavior change needed for AI to become part of the operating model. And of course, in digital delivery, that really is the technical side, right? That includes building, integrating, and scaling AI-enabled solutions into the systems and workflows when the client needs them to operate. So an example of that would be in a general, with the client modernizing IT support. Our digital team implements AI-assisted ticketing. Then our project management team drives governance and stakeholder alignment, and the OCM helps support teams adopt the new process. And the result of that would be faster resolution times, better visibility, and a better user experience. That's how we help clients move from AI planning into execution by aligning the work, the people, and the technology around those measurable outcomes.
Yep, that's great. There's a lot of focus on unlocking both the potential of people and technology together at BCforward. I know it's a cornerstone of what we do and what we strive for to deliver to our clients. And it's really what sets us apart in so many ways. So thank you for sharing that. I just want to end on a question that I think if leaders have listened to our conversations over the past few weeks or done a deeper dive into the blogs or even the AI governance white paper that we had mentioned before, and they're thinking through next steps, what are some things that maybe leaders should either start doing now or stop doing now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think really at the big picture, leaders need to shift from experimentation to execution discipline. They should define outcome-based use cases and design AI-enabled workflows, not just deploy tools. They should also need establish governance early, invest in enablement and change management, and think in terms of operating model evolution. They should stop running disconnected pilots with no path to scale, over focusing on tools instead of outcomes, and assuming adoption will happen naturally. One area we've emphasized consistently is readiness, because execution only works if the foundation is strong enough to support it. At BCforward, we build a structured AI readiness assessment into our discovery process. It's a comprehensive evaluation of an organization's ability to move forward with AI. And that readiness starts with data readiness, including completeness, structure, accessibility, and governance, but also includes process readiness, technology and alignment, and organizational readiness. Those areas show whether the workflows are stable, the technology can integrate, and the organization has the ownership and change capacity to move forward. So an example of this, a client wants to automate reporting with AI. Initially, the focus was on the model, but our readiness assessment uncovered fragmented and inconsistent data. We helped standardize and govern the data first, so when AI was deployed, it actually delivered those expected insights. That shift is jumping from tools to ensuring the foundation is ready to scale.
That's great. And I know this topic will continue to be on the top of many, many leaders and organizations' minds. So I appreciate you taking the time to share all of your insights with us. And I know it's something that we will at BCforward continue to invest in, talk about, and really help our clients navigate as this field keeps changing rapidly and really in exciting times. So I appreciate your time and appreciate your insights throughout this series, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.